Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 184 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pasquale Vari.
And I am Claudio Spera. Welcome to the show, everyone.
It's a story of partnership, of camaraderie, and rock and roll. For 50 years, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons have been the foundation of Kiss. But what happens when these two larger-than-life personalities come together to share vocal credits? From their self-debuted album to Monster, we'll explore the magic that happens when these two legends join forces on vocals.
And you know, Pask, we have our own dynamic duo here to help us explore this topic. So we are joined by recurring panel guest Patrick De Montigny, and it's our pleasure to welcome back after such a long time.
Yes, it's been a while.
That's right. Beautiful Rolla Brown. Welcome to the show again.
Hi.
So Rolla, we haven't seen you in a while. So how has it been? How are your holidays?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. I hope you guys were. A lot of visiting a lot of families, that sort of thing. And I know I was just talking to you about the weather. It's been really cold here, and we're expecting snow over the weekend. So a little colder than I like it. Anyway.
And Pat, how about you? So how are your holidays? Do you have time to relax and unplug a bit?
Yes and no, because I worked between the two holidays. So, but it was good. No complaints. Great reunions, and yeah, it was great. I had people over and went to other places, so it was good. No complaints. It was good. I mean, in the true Christmas spirit, it wasn't about the presents or everything. It was about being with the people we care about and the food.
And the food for sure. That's right. And so you mentioned that's a good one. So have you guys received any Kiss-related gifts or presents?
On my part, I got a Kiss, I'm not going to use the actual word, but live recording on the vinyl from my mother, believe it or not.
Ah.
So, and also got a sort of like a tin plaque from Just Kill.
Uh-huh.
From my brother, so it was kind of nice. Actually, it was nice. Looks good here, so yeah. But that's
beautiful. Beautiful. Rolla, what about you?
Yes, I got a signed album. My husband was very generous with that, so that was nice. So I'm excited.
Beautiful. Well, this is good. This is good. And you, Pask, what did you get?
I didn't get anything Kiss related. Brenda and I chose not to exchange gifts this year. But one of my students at school gave me a pair of Kiss socks, and Craig got me a nice Rock and Roll Over T-shirt. So that was pretty cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
that's great.
And you?
That's great. I got the Kiss at 50 book. You know, the Martin Popoff. Fantastic. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, so I'm enjoying it now. So we're going through it. Yeah.
You know, as great as the holidays were, man, I miss this. I miss podcasting, so I'm really glad to be back doing this.
Same here.
So, guys, talking to fans since the end of the road, it's really clear that more than ever, we're focused on the music. So focusing solely on Paul and Gene, they both have amazing songs in the Kiss catalog, right? So Gene with God of Thunder and Dr. Love, Paul with Detroit Rock City, and Strutter, to name just a few. So let's start this episode with the following question. So when Paul and Gene join forces, does it enhance the Kiss sound? Do their shared vocals contribute to Kiss's enduring legacy and appeal? We're going to start with our guest of honor, Raula.
Yes, it absolutely enhances it. Kiss has always been a band that's about theatrics and dramatization, and I really think that when their voices collaborate, and they collaborate in lyrics that way, it actually brings the whole song alive. It gives it body, so it can almost walk on its own, and that's what Kiss is about, the whole experience, and I think it absolutely enhances that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Patrick, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you got to understand that when Kiss became popular, it was only 10 years after Beatlemania. And as some people may know, the Beatles, John and Paul McCartney mainly would trade. They would sing, especially like I think of a song like A Day in the Life, where They each brought a piece and made it to a song. I think Gina and Paul were influenced by that. So I think, yeah, it gives more texture. I remember when they had released prior to Revenge, God Gave Rock and Roll to You too. And it was mentioned that, oh, they both sing on it. They hadn't done that in a long time. So it was really something to look forward to. And there you are on Revenge. They share vocals on Spit. So yeah, it's something that that is a lot of, yeah, it gives a texture to the music for sure.
Yeah. Claudia?
Yeah, I'm with Rhoda and Pat. I love, when they both sing together. Actually, not so much when actually they sing at the same time, but when they share, some different verses in the song. And in rock and roll, most of the time, we're used to get the same singer all across the song, from beginning to end. But when you have those special verses or maybe some bridges that, you have a different voice, it goes so well to me, and I think that it's a good blend. They're not, even though we're going to talk about it later, but even though their pitch or their tone, it's kind of different, somehow they go so well together. Maybe it's because we love Kiss, right? But this is so great. I love it. What do you think?
So people may not agree with me, but Paul and Gene have always said originally Kiss was about the 4 individual members, like the Beatles, right? To me, it's always been Paul and Gene. To me, Paul and Gene was always Kiss. And we may not have realized that at the beginning, but as the years went on, and especially now, we realized Kiss is about Paul and Gene. So when they sing together, like you said, their shared lyrics, they sound so much better. So this, to me, is what Kiss is all about. And oftentimes, when Kiss is asked to do a cover song, it's usually Paul and Gene, right? If you guys have The Art of Paul McCartney, Paul and Gene did a cover, Venus and Mars Rock Show. It's an amazing song, and Gene did his part, Paul did his part, and as a song, it really came alive. I'm not a big Ramones fan, but do you remember Rock and Roll Radio?
Oh yeah, my goodness, yeah.
When Paul and Gene did that, right? When they ask for Kiss to do a cover, they don't ask Gene or Paul, they ask both of them, because they are the face and the sound of Kiss. And when they do that on Kiss songs, that to me elevates the music to a whole other level. And I just wish they did more of that. I wish they did that at least one song per album. That would have been perfect.
Yeah,
that should have been their staple throughout the years.
Yeah.
True. So related to that, so before we continue with the discussion, so I'd like to know from each one of you, what are your top 5 most iconic Kiss songs featuring shared vocals by Paul and Gene? And why do you think they are so important to you? So Patrick, this time we're going to start with you.
Of course you have Shout It Out Loud, which is a perfect example that how well they blend together. There is also, that's a more obscure one, I, of the Elder, because everybody debates whether the Elder is really Kiss or not, but let's agree that I is the most usual Kiss sound. And again, because you have those 2 singing on the same song. Also, the other one. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit here. Kissing Time. I know it's a cover. It's so cool the fact that you have 3 of the 4 who sing on it with Peter. I think they were trying to do like the Beatles, but it's not always possible. So that's one. Also Spit. I always love that track. Again, I think they were trying to get back to the Kiss spirit by then. And the other one, which escapes me, Only You. Again, this is very obscure, but it's interesting to hear. I'm not going to say I'm a big fan of the song, but I'm a fan of the way it is arranged. Very, again, Beatlesque, because let's not kid ourselves, they were influenced by the Beatles.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
think there's a lot of flavor into that, but as I said, the structure of the song, it totally works for me.
Rolla?
That was almost on my list. You. I would agree with the Patrick. Spit. It's just got a bluesy feel, and like he said, it's just iconic. They totally work in that song. She. That song is so simple, and the combination of their voices together, it just gives it a lot more life. Let Me Know, again, raw bluesy vibey type of lyrics together. And then I and Shout It Out Loud, and I'm kind of putting those together because those are awesome motivational songs. And those are the songs that they get you going, they get your heart rate up, and they and they're telling a story. They're like, hey, you're number one and you can do this. And then I'm gonna say maybe Take Me Down Below, and I know that's a newer one, but that I really enjoyed that song. That was, with that new album coming out, and then we have a song with those two together, and it's like Patrick said, Patrick, and I think Pat said too, kind of miss hearing them sing together.
Yeah.
Those are my five.
Good. Pask?
Well, I think besides Shout It Out Loud, my first choice, that is the only iconic Kiss song that I chose. I chose songs on purpose that are not iconic, but to show that when Paul and Gene sing together, it elevates it to a whole other level. They might not have been great songs on not so great albums, but it elevated the album and it elevated the song. From The Elder. Yeah. The Elder, people could argue, not a great album. But that song, like Pat was saying, made it the definitive Kiss song. And if they took that out of the album and they played it in the greatest hits, it fits right in with any other Kiss song out there. And it's because, again, Paul and Gene sang on it together. Like Patrick, but with a different song, I'm going to cheat. Did you guys hear the demo, Not for the Innocent, with Paul and Gene?
Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Listeners, if you haven't, find it. It is amazing. It sounds fantastic. So much, to me, superior to the Gene Simmons version alone. And that just says how amazing the song was with them together. I have one of Raul's choices, Spit. I remember when the album was released, they considered that a throwaway song. But I don't consider it a throwaway song. It's a fantastic song. It's a fun song. Listen to the lyrics. It's freaking ridiculous. But Gene and Paul sing on it. And it's so much fun. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. And another one I'll agree with Raul is Take Me Down Below. And like Raul was saying, it was such a long time since Gene and Paul sang together. To hear them on Monster doing a song together was fantastic. And again, if you listen to the lyrics, it's cringy. Oh my God. Yeah. It's cringy. Oh, but Paul and Gene doing it together, so much more fun. It made it to me, a great song. And just a little bonus song. I believe that You Want It the Best, the demo version, only Gene sang it, right? If I'm correct.
Oh, that I don't know. Okay.
I think it was only Gene, I believe. And then for Psycho Circus, they added Paul, Peter, and Ace on the album. Yeah. Amazing. And I know fans were trashing that song, but when hey, come on, man. In 1998, Paul, Gene, Peter, and Ace are back, and they're singing together. They've never done that. It was fantastic. One of my favorite songs on the album. That, to me, was quintessential Kiss. And I know there were problems with the band at the time. Well, I didn't know then. We know now. But that song made it all go away because for that one song, man, the boys were back in town.
Yeah. That kind of brought the magic together, right? So once again, you were figuring those four guys singing in the studio at the same time, even though maybe it never happened, but you could figure those guys singing together.
That was awesome.
That was so fantastic. So I'm gonna basically my choices are pretty much the same. I have Let Me Know, which to me to this day, the melody on that song and the fact that it's in the first album and the two guys singing together, to me that's a staple of what Kiss was going to give us over the years. Having those two guys singing together, to me you can't beat it. Well, Shout It Out Loud, I have from The Elder, I have and once again, I'm going to agree with Pat, Only You, one of my favorite songs. But guys, if you listen to it, the way it has a melody so Beatlesque, as Pat was saying. But when Paul gets in to sing that song, he gives the song so much power that it's unbelievable. In that song, it's you can beat it. And Spit, of course, Revenge, it's in my top 5 favorite albums. And again, I'm gonna add one more. As you said before, Pask, You Wanted the Best. To me, it's the fact that having those guys together once again, it's so Kiss, so
Yeah.
Kiss.
Yeah. Now it begs the question, right? Because Paul and Gene have very different vocal styles, and you would think that it wouldn't work together, but it does. So how do you feel they complement each other in their shared songs? Claudio, what do you think?
Well, I think that well, of course, Gene gives the song his kind of uh, so much force and strength, so in your face. And to me, when he interacts with Paul gives the song so much glamour. He tends to give the song more melody, even though as you said before, the vocal styles are so different. But to me, it's a perfect combination of something that it's aggressive in the case of Gene, well, except for Only You. But then when he complements with Paul, it gives the song a different vibe. It gives the song like a new flavor of love, of some melodic and glamorous thing that Gene could never give a song. So that's what I can say.
Okay. Rallo, what do you think?
Technically, musically, I think Gene is a baritone and Paul is a tenor. Not positive on that, but it's like Claudia said, Gene has this deep, raspy voice, and then Paul has this sassy little voice, and they just kind of they just kind of mesh together. I mean, sure, they harmonize. I really don't know what it is, other than the only word that I could come up with was charisma. They have a charisma together, and it just works. And I think it goes along with all their relationship and everything, and the love that they have for the music. It all shows. So that's my one word, charisma.
Right. Cool. Patrick.
I think the thing that may have helped is that we tend to forget that they had worked together in other bands before Kiss, especially at Lester. And for those who have heard the demos, there's a lot of sharing of songs there. So what happens in that case is that they had experience. So I think they were able to bring that into Kiss because they were doing a different type of music that required maybe more technical approach to the songs. They were able to bring that into Kiss, and I think that's probably because they already had an experience. They already knew how to blend their vocals, and I think, Paul is probably more of a, I don't know how to say technically. I'm not going to say better, but you can tell he's very strong technically, whereas Gene has the more rock and roll approach, but he can still sing. The example I have in mind is Lita, the song of the demo that he's really well. So you can tell this guy has a really good voice. So really, it's a mixture of the two that makes it special.
Listen, I'm not a musician. I couldn't tell you musically why it works like you, Raul. I couldn't. But what makes a song fun? What makes a song great? It's obviously the instruments, right? The bass guitar, the rhythm guitar, the lead guitar. And I think when, in a sense, vocally, when Paul and Gene sing together on a song, Gene's the bass and Paul's the lead guitar. And it just musically, it works so well together. And you really see that with Venus and Mars on the Paul McCartney album, how well that worked. Gene started off the song and then it took off with Paul. And the thing is, they know their limitations, they know their ranges, so they never try to outdo or outshine each other. They work within their range. And that's what makes it work. That's what makes it really special.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. That's actually excellent. And you know, as you were talking, I'm thinking of all the stuff that we can find on during the Wicked Lester days. You know, you could already see that those two guys were born to work together. You know, it's amazing. So as you said before, you know, I think we all agree that Paul, technically speaking, he has a stronger voice, but do you think, is there a song where Gene's vocals take center stage over Paul's? Pask, on to you.
That's a strange question. I'm not sure what it means. Does it mean, you know, in one of his solo songs, is there a song that Gene outshines Paul on one of the Paul songs, or is it when they sing together?
No, I think, well, you know, you can answer both, but I would like to have first what your opinion is when they sing together. So is there a song where basically Gene's, you know, presence on the song is stronger than Paul?
I would like to argue no, because they both have an equally strong presence on the song, because their voices work within their comfortable range. So Gene does what he does, Paul does what he does, and that's what makes the song work. Like I said before, they don't compete with each other. If they start doing that, it wouldn't work, because Paul would go too high, Gene would go way beyond his range, and it'd be obvious that they're not working within their vocal comfort zone. You know? So no, I don't. Although generally speaking, I think Paul has the better voice, the stronger voice. You know, and Gene's has always been lower, but listen, Paul destroyed his voice over the years because he was so high. Gene's voice hasn't changed in all these years. His voice is still as strong now as it was in the 70s, you know, because he never went beyond his range. He didn't push it, you know. But still, having said that, I don't think I could argue that one is stronger over the other when they vocally share a song.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Pat, what do you think?
I tend to agree with Pask. I don't think I'm trying to think, and I tried to think about it the whole time. If there is a particular song that Gene blows away Paul's vocals, no, I think they complement each other more than anything else. One of my favorites, they're singing together, the chorus for "Come On and Love Me." If you listen to it, the result of the mix of the two voices, I believe Peter sings on it too live. I'm not 100% positive on that. How can I say? They use it in a good way, like Pask was saying, within the limits, but yet the result is there. And I can't think of a song where Gene outshines Paul. I don't think that's the goal. It's more to complement each other, in my opinion.
Rhoda?
I don't, it's like they said, I don't think that there is a song that he outshines or outdoes Paul per se, but I do feel that there is one specific song that had Gene sang it completely by himself, it would still have made the same amount of impact. And that song, I think, is Spit.
Oh, okay.
I think totally Gene could have pulled that song off without Paul, and it would have been just as good.
Good point. No, that's great. That's a good one. And you know, to me, there's something similar that happens to me, even though you know, it's an iconic song, and we all agree that it's kind of it's the right Kiss message, with Shout It Out Loud, because it gives you, the party stuff, as you said before, Rolla. But for some strange reason, when everybody comes and tell me Shout It Out Loud, the first thing that comes to my mind is Gene's vocals. I don't know why, but it gets so into that. Of course, there's Paul's part. It's great, but I don't know. I will have to give it a try. How about if Shout It Out Loud was sung, but only by Gene? I don't know what could happen. But let me just say something else. As we were talking, I was thinking of how those two guys singing together elevates the song. I don't know if it happens the same to you guys, but on Carnival of Souls, I Walk Alone, from Bruce.
Yeah.
When those two guys, they sing the chorus together, towards the end of the song, to me, that's the most favorite part that I have on the whole album, when those two guys, step in.
Yeah, good point. I just want to also mention, I agree with Raula. If Gene just did Spit. I think it would work. But Claudio, I also believe that if only Paul did Shout It Out Loud,
I
think that would. I don't know what you think, Patrick. I think that would work better than just Gene doing it. What do you think?
Yeah, probably because of the fact that Paul sings the first parts in each verse.
Right.
So therefore, I think we tend to expect more Paul to start than Gene. So probably, yeah, because of that, he could get away with singing it. But yeah, he could pull it off.
Oh yeah.
It would lose its flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the beauty of the discussion panels. This is interesting. So I never thought of that. That's great.
Raula, any thoughts on that?
I agree with Claudio. I think Gene could totally pull that song off.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this is interesting, because really what we're talking about is the chemistry between Paul and Gene. And Paul and Gene have been doing this since the first album, singing together on songs. Now, how do you feel their chemistry have evolved over the years, Raula?
They took the stage together for the first time. They were already friends. And I think they've developed a camaraderie between each other as far as their relationships. They've been through marriages and children and girlfriends and parties, and then, Gene trying to go his own separate way with his acting and his producing. And, I just think they've always come full circle. They always come back together, and they stayed in the band when the other members left and new members came in. And it's like a brotherhood that, and when they walked off the stage together, after all those years. I mean, you have to develop a very, very close, tight-knit brotherhood with someone that you've been on tour with and, been together with for so many years. It's more than a marriage, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't help but to have that.
Pat, what do you think?
I think up until Dynasty, they had like that. They'd sing songs together and things like that. And then by the time Dynasty came around, Kiss became a different band for a while. Yes, they did sing together on The Elder, but after that, with the makeup coming off, not knowing which direction, especially Gene, where to go, I see like a separation. And I think Paul confirmed it in history when he said one night after, I don't know if it was a recording session or on tour with Crazy Nights, Paul basically told Gene, look, you're barely there anymore. I need someone. And shortly after that, God gave rock and roll to you comes along, and then Revenge. So I think it came back, but I think for a while they were apart, and it showed because Gene was barely there on the album, on the albums for the 80s. You think of, especially like it started with Animalize until maybe Hot in the Shade, where, okay, I have a bunch of songs here, let's use that, tweak them a little bit, and that's the feeling. Maybe it wasn't that way, but that's how the result felt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once Gene decided to reconnect with Kiss, and then yes, it came back. And I think that's just like Rolla was saying, marriages or friendships. Or sometimes you go this way, but then you come back and make it work even better. So I think after that, I think both Paul and Gene realized that Kiss was something really important. The outside activities can be nice, but they shouldn't interfere with the chemistry of Kiss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Claudio.
You know, it's interesting because us, we of course, as diehard fans, we have the tendency of kind of going an extra mile. For us, Kiss is not only music, okay? So that's why, Pat, I fully agree, and I was thinking exactly the same, that somehow Kiss music reflects many things for us. It's not just music, you know. So that's why when they first started, you could feel that those two guys were invincible. You know, they were singing together, and every song that they were singing together, it came alive. It gave another dimension. When, as Pat said, when in the 80s, when Gene wasn't there, you could feel it in the music. You know, he just put a couple of songs here and there, but there was a disconnection with Paul. And then they came back together on Revenge, and there you go. You have Spit and you have other stuff. So again, for the most, let's say, purist fans there, they're going to think that maybe we're crazy thinking that this is more than music, but it's more than music for us. You know, this brotherhood, it's reflected into the music. So has it changed the chemistry over the years? Of course, you know, 50 years, it's like a marriage. It's everything, you know, you have your ups and downs, but I think we should be happy and we should celebrate the fact that those two guys, they kind of wrapped up, you know, Kiss history together, and at least, you know, they have one song singing together on Monster. So what a better way to close the loop, you know. Pasc, what's your take on this one?
Okay, I got too much to say here. All right. So I love the analogy that Raul made about the marriage, and I think the marriage at the very beginning was an incredible relationship. But like Pat was saying, down the line, we started to see cracks in that marriage. And in a sense, they were separated in the 80s. But unlike what Pat was saying that then they came back in the 90s with Revenge and stuff. I think they came back in the 90s, but they got back into this marriage, another analogy here, for the kids. Kids. And then they were in that marriage for another 20 years or so. And that's analogous to, you know, being in a marriage too long because you didn't want to split up the family. You were doing it for the kids. It became an obligation, not a marriage of convenience, rather than a marriage of love and passion. And why do I say that? I mean, if you guys remember Paul's book, Paul was saying that early on in his career with the band, he saw the band as family. But they didn't really see him the same way. When the band hit that stage, Paul wasn't alone. He was with his family on stage. He was with the family in the audience. But when the curtains went down, Paul was totally alone. And then something happened. You know, Gene started to have more of those family values and tried to get Paul into that family. But at that point, I believe Paul was like, you know what? No. This is a job for me. My family is my wife and my kids. Gene, Kiss, the audience is my job. And he said that somewhere. And I was so heartbroken by that. There was an interview with Paul and Gene, and Paul said that, and it really stuck in my head. And a good example of this would be You Want It the Best, right? Now that we know that at the time there was turmoil between the four band members, they still sang the song together. And it still sounded like Kiss. It was fantastic. It was a nice fantasy. And looking back, not knowing, it's like, wow, this is incredible. But it was a fantasy. You know, we're the kids seeing our parents. Everything is great. I'm happy. But when they close those doors and I'm in bed in my bedroom and they're in their bedroom, things aren't so great. And I
Yeah.
think that's what was happening with Paul and Gene. That's what
Yeah.
happened with Paul and Gene. And yes, it was great that they did Take Me Down Below on Monster, but that was a necessity for the album. Wouldn't it be great if we did that again?
Hmm.
It's like when Peter came back and they gave him the
Finally.
typical ballads. This is a typical Gene and Paul singing together.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but I think knowing what we know, for me anyway, that chemistry was gone after the late 70s. The 80s, it wasn't there at all, and it was forced 90s afterwards, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes it's better not to know, right?
It's better not to know. Yeah. Ignorance is bliss.
Thanks for busting our bubble, Pat.
It's true, you know.
Yeah, they're ruining it for the kids.
Santa Claus exists, so.
You know, just to wrap up, I think we pretty much touched on this topic, but you know, we all agree that later in their career, you know, Paul and Gene, they shared less, you know, vocals. But I would like to concentrate on the music. So do you believe that this kind of lack of, you know, brotherhood, you know, singing together, do you believe that this had an impact in the sound and direction of Kiss music, Patrick?
Oh, in the 80s for sure, because you could tell for some reason, and again, it was out of their control, but I felt like Lick It Up, it was a revitalized band. I accepted the fact that Ace and Peter were out, and I believe the chemistry, I'm not talking about what went on behind the scenes, but with Vinny, I believe if things could have worked out, Kiss could have had a wonderful second life, like pretty much like Sabbath with Dio or Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. I mean, but the minute they fired Vinny and Gene lost interest in Kiss, what happened was that, okay, it was pretty much Paul running the show, and the other two members, like, okay, it took a while for Bruce to be able to make his place in history and to make it look like a cohesive band again. So yes, it did have an impact because it was pretty much just Paul holding on, Gene barely contributing, and band members changing up until Bruce, and Bruce took a few records to people, okay, he's there to stay, so that's good. So it gave the band stability, but before they reached that point, it was pretty much divided, and it was like Kiss albums between Lick It Up and Revenge were like solo albums, but by Paul and Gene. They each like, okay, I'm gonna do this, put them together and call it a Kiss record. But you wonder if it weren't two solo albums on the same release under the banner Kiss, but it wasn't that bad. Yes, it did have an impact. I think so.
Okay. Rolla?
Well, I agree with Patrick. It's like he said, you know, you have that time frame there, and I know as a fan myself, when they took the makeup off, I was like, you know, and they started putting out a lot of, like he said, those albums that everything was just kind of thrown together, and you didn't really, okay, well, who's in the band now? Oh, this person's now, or who is this person? It got to the point that I wasn't a fan at that time. I stopped listening. But you know, after the comeback, you know, after they put the makeup back on, and after, you know, and then when the Revenge came out in Carnival of Souls, it all changed. And you know, and we're talking about this, and I'm listening to some of the older songs, and I miss hearing them sing together.
Yeah.
I miss that. You know, I was excited to hear more vocals, you know, from the other members, but I missed that. And did it hurt them? Maybe just a little. And it definitely changed the direction, because they could have probably been much bigger than they were. Of course, how could they not be? I mean, I don't know. That's kind of a hard question. You know, it's you're kind of wondering what if, but you don't know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I've always adored Gene's voice. He has a deep voice, and to me, to hear more songs from him was awesome. The two of them together is also awesome.
So
So
you think that 70s Kiss basically defined the
I do,
standard?
I do, I
Okay.
really do. But it's hard to. That was a hard question to answer
Yeah.
because you don't know what direction. I mean, so many things changed in that time frame.
50 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and so yeah, it's just it's hard to know.
yeah. 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 Tusk, what do you think?
So the question is, did Paul and Gene singing together have an impact on the Kiss sound? I think no, it didn't. It didn't affect the Kiss sound or the direction of Kiss music, in my opinion. Now, for example, the Ace solo albums, on every single album, it ends with an instrumental, and you
Mm.
tend to expect it.
Mm.
And if he didn't have it on one of the albums, you're going, okay, what's going on here? Why doesn't he have it? There's something wrong, But with Paul and Gene, we don't expect them to sing together on every album. And when they did, oh, cool, this is fantastic. But if they didn't, so what? I don't think it changed anything. I think what impacted the band, the sound and the direction of the band, is in the 80s when Gene wasn't there and he was acting and Paul was taking care of everything. That was really hurting the band. And as a matter of fact, the 80s would have been a great time for the parents to show the kids that we are a solid duo, and they should have played some songs together in the 80s to at least have that illusion for the fans. It would have made maybe some of the songs, some of the albums stronger. If they did, Not for the Innocent, what a great start, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they didn't do any of that, and it just made it more obvious that they were sort of
So
separated
disconnected. Yeah.
in the 80s. So no, I don't think it had an impact.
Okay.
What about you, Claudio?
Well, I agree. I don't think it had an impact on the sound or the direction, but definitely I think that having more songs where they sing together, it could have been an extra. It could have been a bonus. Okay, it could have enhanced, maybe that album. Let's take one album from I don't know, from the 80s. Okay, maybe having one song of those two guys singing together could have made it just to go through the decade, But well, as you said before, they were so disconnected. But that's why I asked the question to Rolla. I think that the 70s and the original lineup set up, the bar so high that then everything else that they did was compared against those years. And yeah, well, you said it before, 80s was all Paul's, and then when they came back in the 90s with the reunion and stuff, there was not a lot of albums coming out, so there was not a lot of good music or new music coming out. But definitely, I think this is one of the things that I wish it could have been different. Maybe more songs of those two guys singing together that could have made it even better. Yeah,
Guys, if you don't mind, I want to throw something at you.
yeah.
Looking at the future of Kiss, now that we hit the end of the road, we've been talking for several episodes about what we're hoping for, what's going to happen. And what I'm afraid of, and this is based on what I was talking about before, the family dynamic, the Paul and Gene husband and wife, is basically a facade. I see Paul and Gene maybe returning for events, but it's basically nothing more than an obligation. Let's do an opening for Rock and Brews. Let's do an appearance here and there. It's nothing more than an obligation. And if those obligations don't happen, are we ever going to see Paul and Gene together again? Now, I would like to see an error fixed. So the 80s is a difficult time for the band, and it would have been nice if Paul and Gene sang together a couple of times during the 80s. I would hope and I wish that maybe Paul and Gene were asked to do a couple of cover songs. I don't expect new Kiss music, but wouldn't it be cool if they did a couple of cover songs together? That would, in a sense, bring back the illusion that Paul and Gene
Yeah,
are,
that's right.
are a true brotherhood. Again, maybe I'm completely wrong on this, but that's something I like to see. Rala, what are your thoughts about that?
That would be interesting because it would be something new. It
Yeah.
would seem to be something new, and the guys are back. You
Yeah.
know, it would be exciting. Yeah, I think I would like that too.
Mhm. Pat?
Sure, why not? If it's something that how can I say that is worth doing for sure, I would love to hear them do a Beatles cover.
Yeah.
Be good. Yeah.
Their influences, even maybe, well, I don't know how Gene would sound, but maybe even a Led Zeppelin cover because they're such fans of Led Zeppelin. Why not? Something like, something special. Sure, it would be nice.
Mhm.
Really be nice.
Claudia?
You said it before, Pask. After the end of the road, I think all we care about is music. Okay. So I would love to see those two guys involved in something that is related to music. All the other stuff, some appearances for business or whatever, I don't really care. I think it doesn't feed my fantasy. The only way to actually make me believe that this brotherhood it was real at the beginning is like those two guys connecting against together to make some music, something, I don't know, a cover or a new song or anything. For the other stuff, I really don't mind, but I would love to. I would love to see them play something together again. And I don't know if it happens the same to you guys, but this is part of the romanticism that we have for Kiss. But for instance, in that documentary that the A&A, the A&E, okay, when they were sitting together in the couch, they're talking,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see from those guys. If they get together again, maybe talking about, the origins and how the band started, that kind of stuff. I don't want to see any more promotion of new products or anything of those two guys pitching, commercial stuff. I don't want to see that. I just want to come back to the music and the origins. That's it.
A video of them sitting on the couch and just talking. That would be incredible. That
Oh,
was
man.
to me, that was my favorite part of the A&E documentary.
But could you imagine if we had the four guys there,
Oh, forget it.
doing that? My
Oh my
goodness.
Oh, wow.
My
That'd be
goodness.
great.
I would sell half my collection to see that.
Yeah. That would
We
be
can
good.
only dream. We never know.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that could have
It may
been
happen.
much.
It could
Yeah.
happen. It could happen.
Yeah. To me, that could be much better than having those two guys playing one song at Madison Square Garden. If you have
Yeah.
those two guys, sitting on a couch together, laughing and remembering, memories and blah blah blah. But yeah, why not dreaming? Why
Oh
not?
my God, that would be a major event. A major event.
Yeah.
We're for romantics here.
Oh, yes,
That's
we
what
are.
happens.
So, Rala, Patrick, thank you very much once again for coming on the show. It was fun as usual, and
Always.
I want our listeners to know that poor Claudio just drove 4 hours in a snowstorm to get here on time to record this episode. And Claudio, if it was me, man, I would have been on the phone. I'm canceling, man. This is
No,
this
no,
is crazy. I'm exhausted.
no. You could do it. You could do it again.
You're a trooper, man. Thank you. You're a trooper.
This
But
is
I-
pure love, man.
It is. It is. And I just want to say, listen, this is our second episode of 2025. And I didn't have much Kiss in my thoughts during the holidays. And now that we're back doing the podcast, it's sort of, I said it 1,000 times on the show, and it reignites the flame. I want
Yeah.
to listen to Kiss music afterwards. I want to maybe buy something,
Yeah.
It's for this podcast, listening to other podcasts, for me, it keeps the memory of the band alive. Thank God for this show. Thank God for you guys willing to come on week after week. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we always said it, this is the vehicle to see Rolla back. Come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
do not disappear, and seeing Pat again, so this is great, man. This is lovely. I
Too
love it.
much fun.
No, we're going on year 5 in a few months. And we have weekly guests, week after week, that these guests keep saying yes, keep coming on. I think it's fantastic to talk about this band. I'm floored. I'm honored. I'm so appreciative. It's fantastic.
And don't buy anything. Don't buy
No,
anything.
no, I can't
No,
afford
no, no,
anything right now. I can't afford anything. So, guys, once again, thank you very much for everything. As usual, it's been a blast.
Thank you.
Same here. Nice to see
Always
you
a
guys.
pleasure.
So, to the KISS Army, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please send them to talktome@kissarmynationpodcast.com. Till the next time, remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and X. You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on Podomatic, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. This is about you, so please like and subscribe to support the amazing guests we have on the show. See you soon, KISS Army.